We are here now with the founders of the Sweet Juice Fest, Mel Harris, Katie Hackett, and Shona Carr. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Hello.
And Sweet Juice Fest has become just such a wonderful, annual tradition and offering to the, Philly suburb kind of areas, and really doing some great work in shining a light on, artists of, with a very important kind of vibe and theme and beautiful setting for the whole thing. So kudos to you all for pulling this together, and can't wait to dig in more on how it all came about.
Thank you. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of put us in a setting here where we can kind of have people chat one at a time. And since Mel, since you came up first there, why don't we start with kind of your backstory pre Sweet Juice? Like let's hear a little bit about your kind of like your personal journey.
Sure. Yeah. So I moved to Philly about 8 years ago for love and have stayed for love. It's the best city on earth. I love the city and have had so many amazing nights with musicians in the city, mostly in the house show circuit. I think Philly is such a special place because of the space, like the sheer amount of space that is available, both because of the affordability and the fact that there's less of a there's more folks that own their homes or that are close to the homes that they're renting. And so
the community support, like you're talking about, a lot of house shows, a lot of opportunities to, either perform or get to a place to perform, even as a independent DIY artist. There's still ways to get yourself out there.
Exactly. Yeah. People really come out to music here and want to be out enjoying local artists. So that was a big part of my life here in those first few years, was throwing house shows in a spot that I shared with my partner at the time in West Philly. And just through throwing hundreds of shows with lots of local bands and then also bands that were traveling and hosting musicians, I just kind of fell in love even more with the Philly music scene.
Right.
And have always loved a good party, but especially a thoughtful one, a thoughtful gathering that helps meet all the needs, where there's good food and there's good vibes and there's activities so that everyone can participate in the art and kind of break down those barriers between musicians and performers versus audience members and party goers. And so when I met Shona and Katie, and we can get to the kind of origin story night later on. But
Sweet Juice Voltron was formed.
Yeah, exactly. and also we should say our other collaborator, Shug, who is
Shug was on last year and helped promote this. So we're getting the full circle here.
Yeah, she's another OG. But no, it's been a really wonderful experience to move into a slightly more, larger format, more quote unquote professional realm of organizing.
Absolutely. So Shona, let's pull you in.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello there.
Yeah. So I moved to Philly 3 years ago. Actually, just that January before the first Sweet Juice. I had lived in Virginia for a long time. Grew up in the old time music, folk, traditional scene. My parents are traditional musicians. I love what Mel was saying about loving to throw a party, loving to take care of guests, having activities. That really rang true when you said that, Mel, because I feel the same way. Growing up, always going to music parties where people were jamming and there were kids playing and little activities, and sometimes square dancing or contra dancing would happen spontaneously.
Sure.
I moved to Philly, and I actually moved into the house that Mel was living in. We had about maybe 3 weeks of crossover before Mel moved out of that house. And
I'm sure it was nothing personal.
It was personal. Yeah, like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And we had known each other from years before through a mutual friend, and they asked me to play a show. And I had just moved to Philly after COVID and changing locations, and they asked me to play this show, and that was our duo Popcorn Daddy. And that was the night that Sweet Juice extravaganza was born.
It was hatched.
It was hatched, yeah. And then I met Katie a little bit after that, or around the same time, and I knew that the festival was starting to become a thing, and I want to be a part of it. I want to do this. I think the first idea was like, let's have a table with cereal. That's all.
Yeah, that was it.
You can make your own cereal, but that was like the first of many manic ideas.
It was crucial to have.
Yeah, I'm like, what if?
Yes.
But yeah, and I'm really grateful to it as well, just because when I moved to Philly, I really wanted to be someone that was starting things and making things happen, and not just going to things, but creating opportunity for musicians. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we'll bring Katie in.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so thanks for touching on the cereal thing, because I was like, oh, we got to talk about the cereal. It didn't happen, but it's going to happen at some point.
I don't even remember this.
Let's get a sponsor. Let's get Kellogg's or somebody get in on this.
Yeah, Frosted Mini Wheats, where you at?
Come on.
Cracklin Oat Bran sounds perfect for this.
Sweet Juice cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a musician and artist as well. I've been making music since I was a kid. My dad's a musician, so I grew up with a lot of music in the house. And I grew up just outside of Philly in this little town called Trevose, which I always think nobody has heard of, but a lot of people have whenever I say that.
It's like an exit somewhere on one of the roads, and so then you drive past it.
It's like 2 blocks long.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
is it Feasterville Trevose? Is that the two that go together?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. It's like right next to Ben Salem. Most people know that because there's like a casino there. It's like a little bigger.
That's sadly true, but yes.
Yeah. But popped around a little bit. Lived in the Midwest for a while. Lived out west in California for a bit, and then moved to Philly. Like I want to say I don't know, 5-ish years ago, and have just been, I moved here because I really wanted to be surrounded by art, and I wanted to transform myself as an artist. And even though I'd been making music for a long time under my band as the Lunar Year, I felt that I just wanted like a total transformation in my artistry. And so Philly was just so inspiring. It still continues to be for me. And so yeah, and then I met Mel. I met you I don't know. It was before the pandemic. We played some music together, hopped around to New York together for some gigs, and then we really got rolling together. I feel like after it must have been 2021 or so.
Yeah, when Shona moved here, I feel like Shona brought us closer together too.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, really, that show when we all played that show together, it was and the idea for Sweet Juice happened. We've just been, all of us have just been tied ever since. So combining our different artistry skills, trying to put together some community magic. So
yeah. So tell us a little bit more about, because there is a very important element to what was being brought together for the Sweet Juice lineup and the overall kind of vibe.
Yeah. Just generally speaking, or
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, well, one of the things we definitely try to do is I feel like in Philly there's so many different kinds of music, so we try not to be super genre specific, where it's we're this kind of festival,
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, we say in the beginning of this show, we always say genre defiant. That's what we say. So
yeah,
especially because it kind of sucks to give labels to things anyway. You kind of have to, sadly, but I also think it's very limiting and can really kind of cost somebody the opportunity to listen to some great music just because they might think they don't like that particular style, when meanwhile it might sound nothing like that. It's just one of those things that's unnecessarily necessary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, Mel, do you have any think, I mean, it's evolved
Yeah.
so much. Like we started with just like, it was just like a, we wanted to just have a show with our friends, and then, every year it's just different elements have been added.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a super collaborative experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think, what was special about the night, we had a show at the pharmacy, and a bunch of our different friends' bands were involved in not just that show, but a show that was taking place at the Dolphin, which was on Broad Street up the street. And our friend Katie had just gotten off a catering gig, and they brought a bunch of leftover food that they were giving away for free, but then getting donations for their mutual aid organization. And there was just this magic in the air, especially in the home of the pharmacy, which is an amazing DIY venue that no longer exists. But I think, as musicians and artists, we've had a lot of experiences where we're playing at festivals or in bars or venues where it's really clear like who owns the space and who the space was made for and who is in charge of the space. And over we see the ways that artists are featured as entertainers, as places to beautify a space. And really the interactions are centered around alcohol and around just how do we extract as much capital from this community. And then the money goes to the people that own the spaces, that own the bars, that own the liquor companies, and hardly ever goes not just to the artists paid fairly for their work and their labor, but back into the community. So we were like, okay, it's easy to talk a big game about this, but like, have any of us ever organized a festival? What does that really entail? Like, could we try something like this? So Sweet Juice is really about trying to have a festival that is by artists, for artists, where art is at the center. Like the way that both Katie and Shona conceptualize their ideas and their values and their rituals, and that forms this like beautiful basis for a festival that then gets poured into even the most like random esoteric little tasks that we have to do. It just really like, I can feel the way that our values and our artistry are embedded into all the details of the festival. And that feels really special and unique about Sweet Juice. And then also that we're musicians, so we really care. Like we're writing up an artist contract for the first time this year. We're really trying to make sure that we're treating artists the way we would want to be treated in these experiences. And also again, with, the breaking the binary between artist and audience member, we see creativity as a vital tool for liberation. We know that everyone in this city is creative, and we want everyone to feel that creative power within them and be inspired when they go to the fest, not immortalize artists and put them on pedestals, but instead have artists be leaders that can help everyone realize their creative potential and therefore their potential for real change.
That's really beautiful.
Thanks.
No, it's really quite something. It's like, it's grabbing a hold of the moment and turning it into something that an artist would want it to be rather than a capitalist who owns a business. So I think that's really quite cool. Shona, anything to add to that? Either in this beginning phase, or maybe how it started to transition as like, year one and such happened?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Oh, I love listening to both my collaborators talk. I just am like, yay! Beautiful words. Yeah, I was sort of thinking about the evolution. I love that you called it an experiment, Mel, because it does feel like an experiment. And I was kind of making a little joke about the cereal, but that really was a starting point of like, what could we do that make people feel like this is a special place? I think one of the first things was a nap area or an introvert area. We had, which has become an integral part of the Sweet Juice Fest, is there's always a big place to lay down. We had markers, and we had the couch, the deconstructed couch the second year, and Scarf Garden, there's scarves. So every year we're kind of expounding upon the artistic ideas. We had a giant juice box commission that is in my basement right now. But yeah, it's been really exciting how we have taken the concept and created these little stations throughout our fest. And so the juice box, every single year since the first year we've had people, or since the second year we did it, people have come in and had a moment of kind of quiet and they write down something on a little slip of paper and they put it in the straw of this giant juice box. And we now have years of these beautiful dreams, wishes, secrets,
Sure.
spells, whatever it may be, living inside that. And yeah, we always talk about sweet juice itself being sort of a magic piece of art that can transmute something from all of us into the galaxy.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. And then I guess, Katie, if you don't mind, maybe talk about what's happening this year. Start transitioning us into like what new is going to be on there. Like obviously the juice box of manifestation of dreams is there, but what else is kind of going to be a part of it this year?
Yeah, so we've got a couple new things. We always reveal like a secret art installation that we've worked on for the past year, so I can't quite reveal exactly what that is.
Got to be there.
I'd love to expound on some other things that we're doing.
Yeah, do it.
So last year we created it was our first year at the Aubrey Arboretum, the farm in Germantown.
Right.
So all year we just kind of went to the farm and we're just like exploring the space and figuring out like where we could transfer all these items and like build new stations to make the whole fest really like almost like a giant like the festival is its own art installation.
Sure.
And it sort of imagines like the potential for what the world could be, and it's sort of like futuristic. It's like you're imagining it, but it's also real, because it's happening, you're experiencing it. So last year we added it's an installation called OFO in the Gender Galaxy. And so we dyed all of these sheets and surrounded them in this area of the forest. And you could sit inside this like big hole and listen to a sound bath of recorded frogs from the Wissahickon. I created a sound bath, and then you could have like a personalized listening experience. And we had like a giant like art installation of a frog that you could actually sit inside the mouth and listen to it. And it was based on this experiment that people did, I think in the 70s, where they sent 2 frogs to space on this this spaceship called OFO.
Yeah.
And so it's also sort of honoring these animals that went up into space, which is so bizarre that they sent 2 frogs to space. But so that was sort of like an immersive experience where you could like lay and sit. So we've expounded on that station and we've added some new elements. We're also incorporating a lot more poetry into this year.
Very cool.
So we have a featured poet this year, which we've never had a poet speak, even though we've had poetry throughout all of the fest. Even the signs that dictate like where the stations are have like a little poetic flair to them.
Nice.
I think all of them are sort of like cryptic, except for like the water station, because I felt that just needed to be clearly.
This is water.
That's where
Stay
water.
hydrated.
Yeah.
Right.
And musically, yeah. I mean, we have. Let's see. We're gonna have a country band this year with some line dancing.
Nice. Here, I can even bring in the poster here. This will be a way we can kind of talk about. Yeah. So there you are. So this also helps. Like we hadn't touched on the date yet. So June 28th is Sweet Juice Fest 2025, and you just recently. How exciting is this? You held back, or perhaps had to. Sometimes there's rules around it, but Speedy Ortiz is kind of like the headliner this year, which is incredible. And then the rest of the lineup, I'll just read it off real quick. But Shy Godwin, Little Hag, Kofi Girls, Sauve, Kai Davis, Ollie Goss, Cyrus K. Stratton, and then line dancing featuring Fist City and SJF House Band.
Mm-hmm.
And there we are. It's the farm at Aubrey.
Yeah.
How did you come across that? The Arboretum is such a great destination for this, but like, was that their idea, your idea, multiple people all working on this? Like, how did that all come together?
Oh, yeah, that's a great story. It really speaks to the manifestation powers.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want to get into it, Mel? It was really cool how it happened.
Yeah, so I was also going to say, I mean, so many of the ideas, like I was saying, these brilliant, beautiful artists come from books that Shona's reading or dreams that Katie has. And we're like, okay, let's materialize this.
Nice.
So it's really special to grow something from concept to
Sure.
literal structure with our friends and collaborators. Yeah, I think Katie, I think you had a dream, or you just came into Sweet Juice meeting one day and you were like, guys, next year we need goats. We need goats. And we kind of like laughed.
I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
Goats are going to be there.
Said that. You said that. And then that was even quoted in an article in the Inquirer, I think. And at the second festival that we had at its old home at Rigby Mansion, which is a beautiful home of artists that generously donated their backyard to us the first 2 years of Sweet Juice. There was a young person there, reporter at the Inquirer at the time, Kristen Adams, who approached us and wanted to interview us and learn more about the fest. And their energy was just so amazing. And we were really vibing with them. And they wrote a great article. We were really appreciative. And we had been thinking about how we were beginning to outgrow Rigby Mansion, and we really wanted to be in a bigger, beautiful space that, again, could honor this really integral connection we feel between nature and soil and grass and music, all these things that have healing vibrational properties that are so important for people to be immersed in, especially those of us who live in cities and maybe don't have as much access. And so another thing I think Katie had said was like that, or maybe it was Shona, I don't know, but one of you said you really wanted it to be at Aubrey Arboretum, and you had actually scoped out the venue, but the only opportunity was like weddings that were there that seemed to be in the tens of thousands of dollar range, which was just out of our ability.
I just have to jump in because I forgot about this, that Katie was like, we need to go. I go there with the kids, the nanny kids.
Yes.
And we went in our trench coats. And
yes.
like me and Katie used to go on these scouting missions. I totally forgot about that. You're
yes.
About.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
And then with these manifestations, so we get an email a few months before 2024 Sweet Juice, and Kristen out of the blue emails us. This was the reporter who had interviewed us, and says, hey, so I got a new job. I'm working at this place, Aubrey Arboretum. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm the head of community and events. We really want to get more diverse community, more folks of color and queer Philadelphians to know about Aubrey, because it's such an amazing resource for the city, but it doesn't have the most diverse, open reputation. We know you guys, draw a really cool crowd. We'd love to collaborate and support you. And a beautiful partnership was born.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important to point out, like you were talking earlier about, who owns the space, as in, it's the bar who's paying the artist to bring people in to sell more liquor. I think the other part here is also the element of who is the space safe for? And I think that's always on people's minds about, like, at a music venue or at a festival. And it is intentional to make sure that people, from the queer community and from the people of color community, that they feel welcome to this and that it is a space for them to be included in.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's made by them, and it's
right.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, it's been, I don't know, just so amazing to see. Like, even today we had a meeting with some folks that we're going to collaborate on our clothing swap with, which is a really central feature at the festival. And they, I don't want to reveal too many details yet, but like they knew another organization that was doing really important, amazing work that we hadn't even heard of, and they're going to connect us with them. And it's just, I think also, like, when you're more in the realm of capitalist profit, you really have to minimize those connections. Every additional person is another mouth to feed. That's the way you're thinking of it. Oh, I don't want to pay these people to do this thing. But when you're coming at it from a place of art and collaboration and inclusivity, it's an absolutely the more the merrier mentality. And so you just naturally are going to acquire so many more connections.
Sure.
And, that's how the creativity just expands in these really infinite, beautiful ways.
Absolutely. Well, I think, again, like, it's something that people need to check out, even if it's the kind of thing where you're not local. Like, let's say you're not in the Philly area. These are also bands worth your time to go
Oh
check
yeah.
out. And so I don't know if anybody wants to kind of do a quick rundown of maybe like either the sound or the style, or if there's anything to highlight in particular. We are going to close things out with a track from Little Hag because I think they're fantastic. So, but they're all great. So I didn't know if somebody wanted to kind of run through a few different highlights.
Katie, you want to grab this one?
Yeah, I think the lineup as a whole is pretty rockin' this year. We have a lot, like I said, kind of in the beginning, we don't want to, with Sweet Juice Fest, like it's really just like artists we're inspired by,
Sure.
like year by year. And so I think these were all just, it's not genre specific, but these were all artists that we were super inspired by. I'm a huge fan of Shy Godwin. I've been a fan of theirs since I heard of them a few years ago. And same thing with Little Hag. I think she's such a great performer, like so sensational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all these people are great. So Alex is one of our longtime friends, actually, sort of like also like undercover, like in the collective as well. Like we have collaborated on visual art together, and they've made some of our posters. We have a drag performer, Cyrus K. Stratton. Culpy Girls are amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
Kai Davis is our poet this year, so their stuff is amazing as well. Ollie is we have a puppeteer this year, so that's going to be pretty cool. They have like a whole performance that we're gonna get to witness. It's going to be amazing with these giant props and stuff. I won't reveal.
No, right, but enough to tease people who want to be there. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. And of course, the house band, the Sweet
line
house
dancing
band in Fifth City. Yeah, Fifth City. Well, Shona plays in Fifth City. Are you like in the band, or is it?
Yeah, so Fifth City is actually the house band for Baby's First Rodeo Queer Country Night. Yeah, so we're the house band. We've been been in it just over a year, and Sam Rise and Brittany Ann Tranbaugh are the leaders of it. Sam won't be able to be there this year, but we love Sam. They have been a big part of a few different fests, Sweet Juice Fests. And we're gonna have line dancing at the fest this year. So
fun.
Yeah, very exciting. So it's kind of like Queer Country Night, Fifth City. Some members of that will be there, including myself, and then Mel, and we have some guests coming to teach line dancing.
So cool.
It's so great that the community can all lift each other up and we can collaborate. And it's nice not to feel so much competition with sort of our peers here. And a lot of us feel
that's true.
Excited to work together, We can't do everything ourselves. We try.
And of course, Lee Ortiz too. I forgot to mention. We're so excited to announce them too.
Yeah,
I've been a longtime fan of them for a while. So
totally, they are tremendous.
And I think in general, like this is something that I've been thinking about like a lot this year. That like I feel like I think of rock and roll as like a frequency, and for it to be known as something that's confined to like the inside of a venue, like behind another door, like behind the bar,
right?
Like it just feels so like you're closing in rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
And so for this year, I think that's why we were just kind of like, let's bring it to the farm, like I feel like this
send it to the aliens.
Yeah, like it's a frequency in the air. It's for the public. It's like, it's for everybody.
Absolutely.
So I'm just really excited to have such a rockin' lineup this year. Every year is great, but yeah, it's going to be a good one this year.
Totally. People need to check it out. So once again, June 28th, and it goes from 1:30 to 9 p.m.
That's right.
And like you talked about too, it's more than just the music. There's the other elements of the art installations to check out. There's places to kind of chill out and just kind of hang, and I think it's just such a wonderful offering, and thank you all for bringing it to the community.
Sorry, Philip, just one last thing. I
Yeah,
forgot
do it.
about the punchline of the story, which was that there are goats at Aubrey Arboretum.
Yeah.
So there will also be goats again this year.
It's literally goats.
There's always got to be goats.
There's always got to be goats.
That's fantastic. Well, so again, Mel, Shona, Katie, thank you so much, and Shug in absentia. But want to thank you again for sharing the story and for bringing this each year, and can't wait to see it. Just where else we can take it to in future years. Taking us out here is going to be some of that Little Hag music, so that you can get a flavor for some of the lineup. But definitely check out everyone else that's listed there, and check out this track by Little Hag called "The Machine." Thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're like Rapunzel, I'm like the guy. Throw down my charger, the one thing I left behind. Gas up my dildo and go fuck myself. Eat a patty, melt alone, consider getting help. Find me a human that can give it to me. Find me a human better than the machine.